You'll never find a love like mine. I speak with Terry all the time, and I still get inspired every time he talks. I love that guy. I want to talk to you about 4 failure stories today, and then a couple bits about how we can move our brand forward. But I want to start off with my accidental entrepreneurial story. In '99, I started a company. Well, I was working at a big automotive agency. And it was, I should say, when I was a little boy, my dream was to be a firefighter. And then I wanted to be a pilot. And then I wanted to be a jingle writer. And my first job offer for being a jingle writer was less than I was making as a waiter. So I let that one go. But I always wanted to be a creative director, and then once I was a creative director, I always wanted to have my own agency. So in '99, I started my own agency while I was working for a big company still, and it was always like, someday I'm gonna, this is gonna be my thing. And every time you do a project, you're like, oh, that'd be great if I was doing that all the time. And then the paycheck comes in, and the expense check comes in, and they fly you places, and you're like, I'll do that later. So in 2002, when things had finally just completely shit the bed in the marketing community in this town, the big company that had always taken such good care of me went and kicked me out the door. And so an amazing thing happens. Your dream gets, oh, okay, it's not a someday owl, it's, oh my God, right, looking now. So here I am, after being ready and never taking action, suddenly I have to. And it is amazing what you can do when you have to. And so within a year, I was able to bring on a couple partners. We had grown to an agency of 10. We were really, doing some nice work. And then another downturn hits. And my partners and I split ways about a year and a half ago. And I had to start all over again. And my wife looked at me like, you sure you want to do this again? We just went through this. She was ready for the startup to finally take off. But she's so supportive and just stayed behind me. And it took a much shorter ramp this time to go up. If my success curve was like this the first time, the second time, it was like this. It was a lot easier once I got over that head trash of moving on. And so last year I had my best year yet. So, that's really great to, thank you. So I guess the lesson is it's a little bit like the Wizard of Oz. You have the power. You had the power to go home all along. You had the power to start up all along. It's until you have to that really kicked in for me. Another big event for me that happened was back when I had first met Terry. This was 6 years ago. We were doing a big presentation at the Detroit Zoo, and we had brought in a couple big authors, Murray Smith and John Assaraf. And we were really excited. It was a big event, and Terry and I were opening for them, doing our talk, so it was kind of like our coming out party that we were doing this big national show. We had been out for a long time, actually. So I'm on my way there in my fine European sports sedan that I bought with the spoils of my startup, and I was feeling really, really great about myself, just kind of looking like, this is the start of it all. And I smash up my car on the way to the event because I was thinking about how good life was. So luckily I'm not hurt. I get a tow truck. I get dropped off at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. They put me in a rental car, and I'm just sitting there like, this sucks. I'm gonna show up at this big gig in my shiny new car, and now I'm in this little rental. And I'm pulling out of there, and I'm just furious, and I'm like hitting the seat like Cameron and Ferris Bueller is like, doom, doom, doom. And I stop myself for a second. and I pull over and I turn the car off. And I needed to reset. Because here's the reality. Look, I'm still in time for my event. I'm not hurt even though I was in a car accident. I'm sitting in a brand new car, not as nice as what I had. But James, one of my favorite bands, they have a song called Oh Sit Down. And there's a line in that called, if I hadn't seen such riches, I could live with being poor. But here I am in a brand new car in, 99.9% of the world. I'd be like, hey, I'm driving a new car to an event and I'm early and I'm healthy. But instead, I'm thinking I don't have what I had. And so as I reset and just was able to focus on the gratitude I had in my life, I calmed right down. I turned the car on. I gave thanks for all I had. And I showed up at the event and everything went good. But it is amazing. We get our sights real out of whack. We live in Oakland County here. It's the top 10 richest counties in the world. You drive through some neighborhoods, you're like, I don't have that. But imagine most of the world driving through where you live and going, oh, I don't have that. So perspective really comes into play with our degrees of success. Next driving story I have for you is about a panic attack. This is right about the time the economy was tanking the second time around. I was on M59 headed into my office, and I was listening to the radio. And I always wanted to stay up with what was happening on the radio, so when I'm talking to clients, I know all about the news of the day. And they're just talking about all these bankruptcies and companies going under and bad earning report, and boy, the economy is really getting ready to shit the bed. And I started like, oh my God, why are we in business? Let's close up now. I mean, I had a panic attack. And again, I pulled over and turned the car off, kind of breathed for a second, and I drove the rest of the way into work not listening to anything. And I got there, and the phones were ringing, the emails were coming in, everyone was doing their job. The inputs were starting to really get in my way. And this is important. I think this happens to so many of us. We listen to a lot of crap. I don't know if am I moving? I'm not moving. Survey says.
Where's that McDonald's thing again?
What we put into our head determines what we're going to focus on for the rest of the day, the rest of the week. Rather than listening to news, because the job of news is to tell us what's bleeding, burning, and bankrupt. If we tuned in at 10 o'clock and they said, the world is great and the sun is going to rise again tomorrow, who's going to stay up to 11? You're going to go to bed and sleep happy. We sell fear because that gets people to come back. So I decided I need to turn off politic radio and news radio and start filling my head with better stuff. There is no way that you can be happy by the time you get to work if you're listening to Rush Limbaugh during your drive back from lunch, talking about all the anger and hate in the world. You just can't. So fill your head with better stuff. 2 tips I use. I belong to Audible, so every couple weeks I'm listening to a new book, and I alternate between fiction and nonfiction, so I'm always getting new ideas there. And then I'm a podcast junkie. You can listen to the Harvard Business Review for free, download the podcast, and they just a different business book for you every week. So you can get through a lot of business reading while you're in the car, and when you arrive at work, you're positive, and you have a few new ideas to share with your clients and customers. So another thing I definitely recommend you doing. What did I do with my clicker?
To do it manually.
Oh. Sounds romantic. Look at, oh wow, I have like the force. So this is what it all comes down to. No matter what news you're missing out on, you don't control the weather. Boy, it snows here. Lead story, it's snowing. You knew it was snowing. You just wasted 15 minutes hearing about it's snowing. How has that news enriched your life? How has that gotten you ready for the next day? All right? Congress, yes, they're idiots. We know that. Did you need to tune in to hear that they're idiots? You know it already. Let's move on. The stock price, are any of you publicly traded? Then turn it off, all right? Let's build our own fortunes. Let people invest in us, all right? Okay, enough of failure. Let's talk about a few things we can do to get ready for success. Using my lasers, it's not working. I feel like Buzz Lightyear. Here's what it all comes down to from a brand perspective. Before an idea can flourish, it needs a soundbite to take root. Scientists say at every second of every day, there are 6 billion inputs coming into our head. 6 billion. The hum of this projector, the smell of the cheesy cologne from the person 2 rows up from you, the shuffle of the feet, but we tune it out so we can focus on what's important to us. Now, you've experienced this if you've ever found a new car that you want to drive. And as you're driving down the road, you start to see that car everywhere. Here's the reality. You were always seeing it everywhere. You just never knew it was important to you. So your mind filtered it out. On top of that, we all have shiny object syndrome. I call it squirrel's disease. If you've seen the movie Up, squirrel! Boy, here's something that's really scary. When our downtime, we are watching TV with a laptop or a phone open, sometimes both. We multitask while we're relaxing. We are a sick people. Terry and I joke that our best thinking is in the shower, together and alone. But here's why I think it is. Because it's the one place where we're not wired in. It's amazing how your mind goes in all these different places when, you're just not taking anything into your head. So a good exercise for all of us is go for a run, go for a walk, get some time away from devices. I know we all have a favorite mix we listen to when we hike and walk and all that. But if you're enjoying the tunes or enjoying a podcast, sometimes you don't get that time just to think by yourself. So that's a good thing to do. On top of that, we all kind of have that instant gratification. We want fast cars and fast food, unless we are the ones talking. Now, when we're talking, we want everyone's undivided attention. Hold on, I need to tell you this whole story, especially when my wife is talking. Are you listening to me? But when we're the one on the receiving end, we're always like, oh, just it for me. Just get to the point. What are you trying to go with? Why is there this incongruence between how we want to talk and how we want to listen? And as we're out there building our brand in the marketplace, we have to keep this in mind. It takes 12 seconds to teach a child the idea of patriotism. Yet few business executives and professionals can talk about what they do in 12 seconds. They always want a ton of time. Shouldn't have to say anything else there. Now we can blame the USA Today. We can say, well, look, people don't read anymore. They skim. They want to read the headlines, the drop quotes, the pretty pictures, the captions, the charts, and that's true. I don't know if it was necessarily the USA Today's fault or it's just them adapting to it, but that's how we read today. And on the internets, take me forward. Let's go one more. Make it so. Okay. Now in politics, sex, and religion, we use sound bites to drive attention and attitudes all the time. A good pickup line, a good verse, a good slogan, and people will repeat it again and again. Now, when we look at summer blockbusters, a good soundbite drives the entire marketing campaign. Who knows what movie the first one's from? Second one? Third one? Best movie of all time. 25 years ago. That's how old we are. We're like dirt now. Next one? Next one. Now here's what's amazing about a power of a soundbite. When you read that, you heard it in his accent. How would you like if when you introduced yourself or someone read a word that you use in your tagline, that they heard your voice or they thought of your face. Like Terry was saying, before we worry about SEO, we need to worry about PBO. They don't go to Google if they already have the answer in their head. A good soundbite can put this in their head. How about the last one? Who is your daddy and what does he do? Let's actually go to skip this one. Now this idea of sound bites comes from the idea of an elevator pitch. And an elevator pitch is if you get on an elevator with a venture capitalist, how do you tell them about your company in 60 seconds? Now, I want to know where the hell these people are working at, because in Ferndale, in Troy, we got 3 floors. Okay? But how many times have you gone to that BNI meeting or the LBN meeting or you know, a chamber thing where everyone's introducing themselves, and you'll listen really intently to the first 2 or 3 people doing those pitches, and then your mind starts to, I love these ceiling tiles, you know? We can't take it in. So if everyone is doing that 60-second and no one's listening, we're all wasting our time. So what is your 12-second where you can get a soundbite out there that snaps people's attention back to you? That's what we want to do. Now, one thing that we can do to get our soundbite a little tighter is kill the ampersand. When we start talking about what our companies do, we turn into Ron Popeil. But wait, there's more. You'll also receive this handsome set of steak knives. How much would you pay for this? But we also do this. We do writing. We do design. We do social media. You want video? We do video. You need peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? We will come to your lobby and make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We do whatever you need. So we go out and we explain everything that our company does. And that's not what the goal of a soundbite is. That's not how we should be introducing ourselves. We need to quit trying to educate people and start trying to titillate. Quit talking if they're not interested. When you come up with a good soundbite, you can get someone to hold that door open button on the elevator and lean into you and say the 3 words every professional wants to hear. Tell me more. Next thing I want to talk to you about is pissing people off. Now, one thing that pisses me off is the greatest comic, funny paper character of the last 50 years. The only place I see them now is on the back of a pickup truck pissing on someone else's logo. We should do a whole line of Andy Trout pissing on logos. I think it would be huge. And the reality is we're swimming in this kind of sea of mediocrity. Everything out there is good. Louis C.K. has a whole routine about everything's wonderful and everything sucks. And it's true. We have all kinds of really good stuff out there. It's hard to stand out from the clutter. On top of that, we all want consensus. You go to a meeting and we need to get buy-in from everyone. And what happens is when everyone is okay with it, few people are passionate about it. Frank Lloyd Wright had a great quote. He said, "A committee has never built a great building." Now in this town, everything comes back to cars. So you go to the auto show and you'll see people huddled around these futuristic concept cars. And half the people are saying, "Oh, wow, look at it, so futuristic, really cool lines." And the other half of the display is going, what were they thinking? Look at that. It's hideous. And so the designers will take down all this feedback at the auto show. And then they go back into the studio and they sand off all the corners that offended someone. But in doing so, they round off all the corners that excited someone. So when the production version comes out, the people who loved it are like, eh. The people who hated it are like, eh. And the sales are like, eh. Here's where it comes from. In the old days, we had 3 brands of soap, 3 brands of toilet paper, 3 brands, don't wipe your butt with peanut butter. That was, sorry, wrong slide there. 3 brands of cars because we had 3 networks. So we had to create very generic products for a big group of people. So you didn't want to take any chances on having a sharp corner on your. Now, how many of you are dealing with millions of customers every day? Anyone? If 1 million people called my office tomorrow, I would hide under the desk, grab my blankie, and try and disconnect my phone with a hammer, all right? So if we aren't trying to be a mass market brand ourselves, why are we marketing like one? Why are we trying to do something that doesn't offend anyone? Because here's the channel lineup now. It's a lot different. We don't have to worry about 3 networks. You can find a network or an audience that is very specific on one of these different social networks or even on cable. Isn't it terrible when you are at someone else's house trying to use the remote and find a channel that you want? There's like 200 channels to go through. I just want AMC. I can't find it. I like the old days when Channel 7 was ABC. I knew where to find it. AMC could be anywhere. If you get nothing else from this talk, this is it. If you're not pissing off a few people, you're probably not exciting anyone either. Quit trying to be liked. Well-liked people never do anything epic. Everyone's so afraid of being hated. The reality is the opposite of being loved is not hated. This is, oh, sorry, hold on, let's skip this one. I hate to skip the Swedish Chef, but you know. We make the schoolie do. This is what we're afraid of. There's nothing worse than putting a lot of time into a post or a product or a promotion. 0 likes, 0 shares, 0 comments, 0 customers. Apathy and indifference are what we're worried about. The number 1 meme in America, I'm unimpressed. We can't afford to do that anymore. I want you to make your next pitch, your next product, your next promotion so incredible that when people read it, they turn into that giant red picture and they burst through walls to tell people about it. You don't want customers. You want evangelists. You want people who are just going, oh man, you've got to see this product. You've got to try this ice cream. The people are talking about ice cream and the guy's not even here. We're all sharing about it because they're doing remarkable things. Create products with remarkable built right in. There's no sense in being me too in this marketplace. The only thing worse than being me too is being me too but cheaper. That is not the way to build a business. That's not the way to build a brand. Only when you decide that you're not going to be the brand for everyone, that you're not going to be liked, that you're not going to be polite, will you truly resonate with some and find people who are going to charge into battle. I forget who came up with this. Dave, you may know. What is it, the ratio if an artist can find 1,000 people to pay him $100? I forget who came up with the concept, but look at it that way. If you could have 1,000 people pay you $100 a month, living large, okay? Quit trying to appeal to the millions. Find your little group of 1,000 people that'll line up and march into battle with you, and you will be doing very well. Real quick to wrap up, these next few are going to go pretty quick. So, I always hear, I'm waiting for blank. And no matter what you say it is, there's a lot of things that you're waiting for. I hear, well, I'm waiting for the time, I'm waiting for the money, I'm waiting until I get my degree, I'm waiting until the kids are in school, I'm waiting until the kids are out of school, I'm waiting for approval, I'm waiting for a client, I'm waiting for partnership, I'm waiting for the patent to come through, I'm waiting for funding. We hear all those things, and they're all 100% accurate. And we hear it both ways. We'll hear it, I'm just waiting for things to slow down, I'm too busy right now. And then when things are slow, I'm just waiting for things to pick up. And we're always sitting here waiting for the conditions to be just right and for the next slide to come up. And so as we sit there waiting for everything to be perfect, next day turns into next week, turns into next year, turns into next slide. I use a lot of slides in rapid succession. It's all a timing thing. Yeah. Let's try one more time. All right. It's better if the visuals match, but you know what I'm saying. So really, what you're waiting for. This is your blank, okay? And your blank is nothing more than your excuse. It's a little lie that you tell yourself for not kicking ass, for not getting out there and doing the things that you know you need to do. And you need to quit blanking yourself. It's holding you back. You need to quit blanking yourself. You need to quit waiting. You need to start today. And because you're going to screw up, you need to start again tomorrow. And you just keep at this again and again and again. And when you can put it all together, you can make it happen. You can change the world. You can make the world better for you, for your family, for the community. Because as Terry says, we're all connected. Imagine a world where everyone lives up to their potential. You ever do something that you're just really good at, how there's that kind of buzz within you, and you're unstoppable. You walk around with kind of this happiness on your face. Imagine a world where everyone is buzzing like that. We'd be like a world of vibrators. That would be awesome.